I've heard you describe about the career that you chose was a way that you could monetize your ADHD. I feel like we've just diagnosed you for the last 30 minutes. Do you feel like you have ADHD? Have you went through a diagnosis? What's your relationship with that label?
We never had the diagnosis. I'd never even heard of it until about 8 or 10 years ago. So certainly when I was at school, you never had it. I am wary about the medication of it because it strikes me as something which, by the way, I mean, this is not to say that it's necessarily easy to have it as an individual, but there's a very, very good academic whose name, I can't remember her name, but I should remember it, who I think is at King's College London, who makes the interesting case that a lot of these spectrum disorders are not disorders in a social species. Okay? So the argument is this is what you might call that in any group of 150 people, okay, whatever the cost or benefit to the individual, it is advantageous. Now, you've got to get into group selection here, so I'm going to get hardcore Darwinists, literally, okay. I do believe in group selection to a degree, as did Darwin, incidentally, okay? Because there patently would be in the evolutionary environment competition between groups, okay, which would then select for cooperation, okay? Now, my question would be, and her assertion is that having a few people, you know, variously on some sort of spectrum or other within a group of 150 people is undoubtedly beneficial to the group because it gives the group collectively what you might call an equivalent of stereo or equivalent of, you know, in other words, having 3 or 4 people or 10 people even in a group who look at something differently, who fundamentally, you know, have a slightly different way of perceiving the world is a kind of 3D vision, ironically. You know, in other words, it gives a completely new perspective on something, and therefore any group which was neurodiverse would actually do better than a group where everybody's neurotypical. That seems to me entirely plausible as a line of argument.
I can't remember if this is a sentiment from an evolutionary psychologist or Theo Von. I mean, there's a big gap in gain between both of those people, but I'm sure I heard somewhere that those with ADHD...
By the way, that's why we should cherish comedians and indulge them, because they are, you know, along with other artistic and creative types, within reason, they contribute effectively to our collective vision of the world.
I think what I heard was that those with ADHD were typically on lookout for our tribe from an evolutionary point of view because they were easily distracted by oncoming